All right, what's going on, guys? So yeah, apparently we got an impromptu part 2 of our Wonder Woman 84 open spoiler discussion. Sorry about that. Technical difficulties do happen from time to time, but it looks like we're back up and running here. So I'm gonna kind of pick up where I left off here. So we were talking Wonder Woman 1984 open spoiler discussions again. Quick, little, this is an open spoiler discussion. I do want to hear from you guys, so again, make sure you comment below in the live feeds on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitch. Comment below on all those. Again, this is part 2 because, well, we had some technical difficulties. We had to restart the stream, so make sure you guys comment below. Yeah, Sean just commented. He said it was only okay. Yeah, I mean, you know what's funny, Sean, is I've heard a lot of people say that it was either super awesome or they feel like me. I hated this movie. But you're in the middle, and that's cool and that's good. Like, there is some middle ground, it looks like. But I mean, for what I'm hearing and what I'm seeing, most people either loved it or hated it. Sean chimed in again. He says, I really tried to love it. I wanted to love it. I wanted to like this. It was not good. I just couldn't get into it. So, yeah, I'm going to pick up where I left off here, in kind of the character stuff. So I was talking about Barbara. And this is Kristen Wiig's character. Now I got to tell you, when I saw the casting of Kristen Wiig as Cheetah, I was like, what? Because it didn't make sense to me when I saw that. And by the way, again, guys, make sure you comment below, like all that stuff. Make sure you do that, smash the like button, comment, and everything. I want to hear from you guys in the live chat. And of course, don't forget you can comment via the tip link as well, streamlabs.com/movieidiot. If you comment via the tip link, of course you're supporting the show, and that's awesome. All right. So anyway, when I saw Kristen Wiig as Cheetah, I was like, I don't like this casting. But I'm like, I want to give her a shot. I will say this. Kristen Wiig wasn't given much to work with. I thought the writing was not great for her. And I thought for what she was given, she did very well. Sean said, the action scenes were great. The storyline was so weirdly pieced together, LOL. Yeah, I agree, Sean. Fully agree. So Kristen Wiig wasn't given much to work with, but what she did have, I thought she did really well, and which makes me wonder if they had better writing, she could have been really good in this movie. And unfortunately, the writing was just shit. It was just shit. So I didn't mind her acting. I thought she actually did very well with what she was given. I just thought the writing was terrible, as Sean just said again. The writing was horrible. Yeah, I just thought, and the direction, and this is what bothers me the most, because I love Patty Jenkins as a director, but this was a bad day at the office for her. She did not do well on this film, and I will get to Patty, but yeah. So Kristen Wiig's character, as I was kind of explaining before, she was kind of the mousy character and whatnot. And I was kind of getting into, like, when they first introduce her, you see her and she spills all these papers on the floor, and then Wonder Woman comes and helps her. All the men just walk by. No, because men are assholes in this movie. So all the men walk by, and then Wonder Woman stops and helps her pick up her papers, and she gets there, and I was going to give you guys kind of a better, here we go. So here's the briefcase, right? Here, let me try and get that in the camera here. Okay, there's your briefcase, right? So then she closes the briefcase, so the papers are sticking out of the top of the briefcase like this. So Kristen Wiig is talking, and then they flash to Wonder Woman, and she talks, and they get back to Kristen Wiig, and here's your briefcase, no papers. And then they flash to Wonder Woman, hey, and then they get back to Kristen Wiig, and the papers are sticking up again. Magically. That is a director issue and an editing issue, and they should have caught that. And this is a major blockbuster movie, and they missed this. And when I saw, this is early in the movie, when I saw it, I'm like, oh, shit. Because it just means that they either rushed this or they lazily did it. They weren't paying attention to details. If they weren't paying attention to those details, and Sean says bad editing. Yes. And if they weren't paying attention to those details, they're not paying attention to the rest of the details, and it showed in this movie. And Sean said, agreed, Kristen could have been an amazing supervillain. Yeah, and I really thought, like, honestly, I thought Kristen Wiig, for what she was given, did much better than I thought she was gonna. I was not impressed by her casting for the role of Cheetah, and she did much better than I expected, even though they gave her shit to work with, and she did much better than I expected. And I said in my review I didn't like her, but it wasn't her that I didn't like. It's her character I didn't like. They just did a horrible job of writing her character. And again, the other thing that bothered me is Cheetah is one of Wonder Woman's big villains. She's one, and yet she was an afterthought. She was a secondary villain. She was Jim Carrey's Riddler. That's what they made her. They made her Jim Carrey's Riddler, or Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman, except for Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman was a much better written character. And that's an example that they could have used to make this character, and instead they just fucked it up. They messed it up, and it's not Kristen Wiig's fault. I think Kristen Wiig herself did a great job. I think the character was poorly written and poorly directed. And it showed through the whole movie. And it's just unfortunate. Again, it's very unfortunate. So that's kind of my take on that. She, to kind of go through her character arc really quick and close that out. So she ends up, she's the mousy character, whatever. She ends up wishing on the wish stone. She wants to be like Diana, and by doing that, she gets Diana's powers, which she didn't know Diana had those powers, mind you, but, whatever. Again, I'll suspend a little disbelief. You're supposed to, right? So she gets Diana's powers, but it's not enough, of course, and eventually she... and again, this is the only character. Now, a lot of people are saying she got a second wish. When you watch the scene where she gets her second wish, she didn't get a second wish. She said, I don't want to be like her anymore. That was her renouncing her first wish. So then she got to wish again because she renounced the first wish. I understood that plot line. Again, pretty thin. And again, why did she get to do that? Because. But at the same time... again, plot problems, but I did understand that she did not get two wishes. She renounced her wish and then got another wish. Shawnee Sean says, what was the whole first scene with the Amazon Olympics for? I'm going to get to that, Sean. Honestly, in my opinion, Sean, that's the best scene in the whole movie. But yes, totally unnecessary. But yeah, I'll get to that. All right, so... Anyway, so Kristen Wiig, she wishes again and then becomes the actual Cheetah and then becomes an afterthought. She's basically then just a henchman for the main villain in the movie, which is Pedro Pascal's character. And just, yeah, they could have done so much better. So unfortunately, Kristen Wiig got kind of the shit end of the deal in that. So, all right. Moving on, I had talked about Pedro Pascal, and we're going to get to his character next. Max Lord is the character that Pedro Pascal played. Ugh, this character. Talk about... if we're using the Batman Forever comparison, is the Tommy Lee Jones of this movie. He is the over-the-top villain. The completely over-the-top villain. And Shawnee Sean says, crappy character. And yeah, and again, I blame Patty Jenkins, and I blame the writing. It's the writing. And Sean says, yes! Yeah, it's the writing. It's not Pedro. It's not Pedro's fault. He was directed and told to be campy and over-the-top. He was directed that way. Pedro Pascal took what he had to work with and did what he was told. I don't blame him at all. He's a great actor. We just saw it in The Mandalorian. He can do very reserved. He can do drama. He can do all of that. The problem with him in this movie isn't him. It's the writing and it's the direction. And that is the theme throughout this whole movie. It's the writing and it's the direction. And it all falls on Patty Jenkins. So Max Lord is another villain in the Wonder Woman tropes in the comics that people may not know about. He's kind of this sleazy TV pitchman business guy who just wants more power. And he wants to impress his son, right? Which a lot of people are complaining because, so Pedro Pascal plays a Latin character, and he is Latin, obviously, but his son was Asian, and a lot of people on the internet are kind of complaining about, who cares, whatever, maybe they never show the mother of the kid, and maybe the kid's adopted, or maybe it's just, mixed race type of deal, who gives a shit, whatever, I don't care about that, but, Pedro Pascal is, just wants to impress his son, and he wants to be this great, awesome, powerful, amazing man for his son, and yet he's trying to do this in the most sleazy ways possible throughout the entire movie. And again, he's just so over the top the whole time, just like, I want all the power, I want it. Dude, it's just too much. And again, I don't blame him, I blame the writing. And so anyway, Max Lord, he gets the stone. He actually seduces Barbara, the cheetah character, to get the stone from her, gets the stone, and then wishes to become the stone. So he is the wishing stone. And then he spends the rest of the movie just trying to get more and more and more power, tricking people into making wishes. When they make wishes, then he gets to take something from them. It's what they call the monkey's paw. So you make a wish, but there's a catch. So he's doing this the whole movie, so he's taking things from people all the time. But what it's affecting his health. So then finally he gets to a point where he goes to, Shawnee Sean says, such a weird villain. Yeah, and it really was. And it could have been an amazing villain, that's the thing. But so he gets to the president at some point, and this scene too, again, what they call no verisimilitude. There's the ask that they're asking you to believe it's so far-fetched you can't believe it. So there's the ask, there's a setup, and there's a payoff. Well, he walks in, basically sets up a meeting in the White House with the president, grabs the president by the hands. Right then and there, he would have been tackled to the ground. Instead, I wanted to say Social Security, Secret Service, it's just like, okay, it's okay. And they let him do it. He gets the president to wish for more nukes, and then he takes his power, so to speak, and his respect, and then all of a sudden, so he turns around and there's this billboard there or whatever. They had been having a meeting. He's like, "What's this?" And they're like, "Oh, that's some secret project with a satellite thing." Like they would have left that up if he was taking a meeting, if the president was taking a meeting with somebody. Come on. I got to a point where I was like, come on. Again, poor writing, poor, yeah, it was just bad. So anyway, he gets all this power, and then he gets them to fly him over to where this satellite thing is, and he's broadcasting this, make all your wishes, I'll make all your wishes come true, everybody, and people are wishing for people to drop dead, and people are wishing for entire races of people to be taken, and they're wishing for this, that, and the other thing. And this whole time, the big question is there nobody who would have made a selfless wish, I wish for world peace, or I wish for all this chaos to end? Nobody did that, because everybody apparently in the 80s was a piece of shit. As Sean said, I guess it was in the 80s, lol. And again, it's that campy, this felt like the Wonder Woman TV show back in the 80s. That's what it felt like the whole time I'm watching this. So we get to the point where he's, I want all the power, and what he's taking from everybody is then their health, to restore his health. So Wonder Woman gets to him finally, and here's the other thing, they give him a power, so she's trying to get to him, there's this cyclone of power around him, and she can't get to him because wishing power is super powerful, and it will keep a godlike being like Wonder Woman away from him? I don't know about that. She couldn't get the lasso through. She's finally trying to get to him. She ends up lassoing his leg, which you don't see right away, but she gets the lasso of truth around his leg, and then she starts this whole montage monologue, and this is how she defeats him. she starts this whole montage monologue about how everybody needs to renounce their wishes, and this is being broadcast, but you don't see her because nobody can see her because she's hiding from man. Mind you, she had a whole mall scene where she was kicking people's asses in front of hundreds of people in a mall, but it's okay, guys, because she knocked out the security cameras, so nobody saw her. So she has this whole thing, and everybody renounces their wishes. Now, here's another thing that I think people have been confused. Everybody in this movie did not renounce their wish. What happened was finally Max, because the lasso of truth was around his leg, he saw the truth that he needed to be there for his son. And then he renounced his wish, which got rid of all the other wishes. So I think I understood that, and I think a lot of people didn't. Because I've been watching a lot of reviews on this, and a lot of people didn't quite get that. So that's the way I interpreted it, is that once he renounced his, other people were renouncing their wishes, but I don't think everybody renounced their wish. I think once he renounced him being the wishing stone, then all the other wishes got flipped, basically. That's the way I took it. And that's why the lasso of truth was around his legs, so he can see his truth. And that's a very Wonder Woman trope all the way through the comics. You know, I see your truth, embrace your truth. It's a big thing. If you watch, there's a comic, there's an animated movie on HBO Max, actually. You can probably find it, where I can't remember if it's the Flashpoint Paradox or if it's the Doomsday, or I don't know. Anyway, the point is there's a whole point where people are protesting Wonder Woman, and she lassos a guy, and he says, I dress in a Wonder Woman costume. It makes me feel powerful. And she goes, embrace your truth, my friend. It's a thing with her. She's all about embracing your own inner truth and embracing who you are. And so that made sense, and I was cool with that. Like, that was good. As Shawnee Sean said, agreed to the truth thing. He also said it was a weird scene. Yeah, very weird scene where she's, again, how a godlike character like Wonder Woman, who's got all this power, can't penetrate wind? Even though we just saw her flying on wind? And yeah, it was just, again, weird. So, but, and then Max renounces his wish, and he's no longer the wishing stone, and then he immediately, somehow still, the president's men are still listening to him because they fly him back to his kid, and he gets this reuniting scene with his kid that should be very emotional. And Pedro did a great job of acting that scene, except I didn't feel anything because by this point, I'm just fucking done with this movie. I was so furious with the movie, I couldn't even get emotionally invested in it. So yeah, so that's the Max Lord character. I don't even know what else to say on that. So I'm gonna move on from him. Again, guys, please keep commenting below. Shawnee Sean, thank you. And then others, please keep commenting. I want to hear from all of you guys. Shawnee Sean also said she defeated the actual god of war. Wind was stopping her. Exactly. Sean, it just doesn't make sense. Wind? Really? So many frustrating things. So let's get to our main character. As we were going through characters, we're going to get to Gal. So Wonder Woman herself. And here's where we're going to get, Sean, you had brought this up before, so now I'm going to get to it. The scene in Themyscira. So this whole movie starts off in a scene in Themyscira where a young Wonder Woman, a child version of Wonder Woman, is in this like Olympics race thing, and she's trying to, win against the other Amazonians in a race, basically. And it's a very visually cool scene. I loved the scene. Some of the, again, you have to suspend some disbelief with superhero movies, right? So some of the basic things like gravity didn't quite work, but whatever, you suspend disbelief, it's fine. But yeah, so she's in Themyscira, they're doing this whole race, and they're riding on horses, and they have to shoot these targets, and then the targets shoot up smoke, and it basically tells everybody who's winning the race. And so, of course, Diana's winning the race most of the time, but then she gets knocked off her horse. So then she slides down a mountain to get back on her horse to win the race, but she didn't hit the target because she skipped targets because she slid down. So they get to the end and they got to pick up these javelins and throw it through this hoop, and she's about to do that, and one of the other Amazonians, I forget her name, but she was in the other movie. She's the one who trained Diana. She grabs her arm right before she's going to throw the spear, and she's like, no, you cheated. She's like, you can't cheat. And she's like, that's not, you have to embrace your truth. You cheated. You didn't win. And Shawnee Sean has been saying here, he says, I love that scene, but I didn't understand the whole point of it. I think the whole point of the scene, Sean, was to set up the truth arc. The truth, embrace your truth. The truth is you didn't win. Don't lie. Don't cheat. Sean says, I thought they were going to tie in the quote from her aunt into the plot of the movie as a theme. So, and they did. It was about the truth. That was the whole point of the scene. It just wasn't necessary. Like you said, it wasn't necessary. It was not a necessary scene. A cool scene, but this is already a 2.5 hour long movie. Did you really need that? The answer is no. The answer is no. It was totally unnecessary. Again, cool. And I'm okay with it. And I'm okay even if they left it in, if the rest of the movie made sense. But since the whole movie didn't make sense, having that scene doesn't really make sense, in my opinion. So there's that. But it was still a cool scene. It was honestly, I think, one of my favorite scenes of the movie. That, and again, I thought visually the jet scene was awesome. But anyway, so there's that. And then we get to the mall scene. And this is where the movie started losing me. Because I liked the Themyscira scene. And, without knowing the rest of the plot or the rest of the movie, I was like, okay, this is starting off pretty cool. Awesome. Then we get to the mall. So we get to this mall, and these guys come in and they start robbing this store that is a front for antiquities. Now, why you would have a mall in Washington, D.C. be your criminal front for stolen antiquities, I will never know. There's so many people around, it's very public, it doesn't make sense, but whatever. Because, right? So this mall is a front for stolen antiquities, and somehow Wonder Woman gets there and she starts chasing down these robbers. And he, as Shawnee Sean says, very Stranger Things. And yes, I think that's what they were going for. It just wasn't as cool as Stranger Things. The thing with Stranger Things is Stranger Things is based in the 80s, but they weren't going, look, we're in the 80s. It was still made in a way that it's done like a TV show or a movie today, whereas Wonder Woman 84 was shot and written and acted as if it was made in the 80s. So she's in this mall, and again, pretty cool scene, how, action-wise, I love what she was doing with the lasso. It was really neat. But she's catching these guys who are trying to steal these antiquities out of this front or whatever, and one of the guys is running away. He's like, I ain't going back to jail, and he grabs a kid and holds the kid over the edge of the railing, and everybody, including the other robbers, are like, dude, what are you doing? And including me, going, what the fuck is this guy doing? This doesn't even make sense. And it didn't make sense, and there was no point to it. It just didn't make sense. But regardless, Wonder Woman saves the day, and she throws the kid into a pile of teddy bears, and like you can see in this image, she goes, shh, and she knocked out all the cameras with her crown, like Captain America style, threw it and just knocked out all the cameras. Mind you, even though this is the 80s, I'm pretty sure they had a recording feed. It's not like she's not on tape, but again, suspend disbelief, whatever. It's a visual representation of them saying she couldn't be caught on camera. She should have knocked out the cameras beforehand, like Batman would have done, but whatever. It's fine. I get it. And yet, like, the whole scene was okay. So this stone, the wishing stone, was there. It ends up getting seized by the FBI and brought to the Smithsonian, right? Where, mind you, she works at. So Diana works at the Smithsonian. So what's the point of even having the mall scene if the stone's going to fall into her lap anyway. Doesn't make sense. Just plot-wise. It's so on the nose that it's confusing. It's like, really? Really? So the stone gets dropped off at her work, and of course Diana makes her wish in her head, even though everybody else in the movie, when they make a wish, has to do it out loud. Diana makes it in her head, and apparently it was to have Steve come back, because then Steve comes back in another man's body, mind you. It's weird. That being said, Gal Gadot, even though this movie's poorly written and poorly done, again, does a good job as Wonder Woman. I love her in this role. She looks the part. And the cool thing about Wonder Woman is Wonder Woman doesn't require a lot of acting prowess. Gal Gadot is a fine actor. She's not a great actress, okay? She's okay. She's serviceable. But that's all you have to be for Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman in the comics and whatnot isn't that complex of a character, especially since she's all about embrace your truth. So she's not very complex. She doesn't have many layers to her. She is truth, justice, superhero woman. You know, it's not that complicated. So I thought Gal did a good job. Again, her chemistry with Chris Pine and the Steve Trevor character is great. She did everything that was asked of her. The writing around her is just terrible. And unfortunately, they made Wonder Woman in her own movie kind of a secondary character. This movie, if you really think about it, is more about it's more about Max Lord. It's more about the villain. Wonder Woman in her own movie was secondary, pretty much. I don't even know if she had as much screen time as Pedro. I'm pretty sure she didn't. Also, they made her out to be kind of a piece of shit, because if Steve Trevor possessed a man's body and Wonder Woman slept with this man, did she rape somebody? Again, I brought this up earlier, but it's been brought up by other people too. I'm pretty sure they low-key raped a dude. It just, I don't know. It was a very weird. And again, the answer is because. Shawnee Sean chimes in and says, you have to be gorgeous. You have to be a gorgeous Amazon. Oh yeah. I mean, and Gal is gorgeous. She's a beautiful woman. And she looks the part, and it's great. Anyway, they made her kind of to be shitty. Neither her or Steve were yeah, there's something wrong with me possessing this guy. Never brought up. No inconvenience at all. Again, Gal did a good job. They just made Wonder Woman, a secondary character in her own movie, and it really kind of sucked, in my opinion. I also mentioned it before, and I'll mention it again, the whole flight thing. Did she forget to fly later in Batman v Superman? Did she forget to fly in Justice League? Because she learned how to fly in this movie. By the way, she learns how to fly because she goes, I just don't understand flight. And he's like, well, it's just wind resistance and, feeling the wind under. And all of a sudden now she can fly? No. No. Again, the ask, the setup and the payoff are just... The setup and payoff on that are not good enough for the ask. The ask is what makes Wonder Woman learn to fly. It's not because she has a 2-minute conversation in a stolen jet from a museum that was already gassed up that she made invisible with her magic powers about flight avionics. No, that's not why Wonder Woman learns to fly. I'm sorry, your payoff doesn't fulfill the ask that you're asking me to believe. And that again goes to Patty Jenkins, which we're gonna get to. It just, again, Shawnee Sean says she got amnesia for Justice League. Apparently, she must have bumped her head. I don't know. But I don't want to poo-poo on Gal. It's not her fault. None of the actors and actresses in this movie, in my opinion, did anything wrong. They did what was asked. They did what was asked of them. And unfortunately, what was asked of them didn't work. It just is what it is. But I do enjoy her in this role, and I can't wait to see her in it again. Like, Wonder Woman 3 is coming. It's confirmed. It's coming. Patty Jenkins is going to direct again. Gal Gadot's coming back. Gal said she wouldn't come back without Patty. Cool. Awesome. Hopefully they do a better job with the writing in the next one. And I can't wait to see Gal come back. So, Sean says that's why she didn't fly in that movie. Obviously. Because, right, Sean? Because, ugh. But that being said, I do want to say I liked Gal in the movie. Her acting was fine, and she did a great job, and she is a great Wonder Woman. They just did her no favors. None. And that's kind of the way I feel about it. So, all right, I'm going to move on from Gal here, and we'll get to the next part that I wanted to talk about. And that is our director, and that is Patty Jenkins. Now, Patty had some input on the writing of this movie. She isn't the credited writer per se, but she had some input on the writing, and obviously they gave her more power and more, autonomy over the movie. And I gotta tell you, look, Patty Jenkins is a great director. She directed Monster, which gave Charlize Theron her first Oscar, and that is a phenomenal movie. She directed the first Wonder Woman movie, and that is a phenomenal, very good movie. And she's directed a ton of TV and has been nominated for many Emmys, and she's a very good director, and she's very good at what she does. And all I will say is Patty Jenkins had a bad day at the office, but it was astronomically bad. I brought up the briefcase thing earlier, and that's what tipped me off early in this movie that was going to be a problem. Again, things like 1 second there are papers sticking out of a briefcase, now there's not, now there is again. Those are problems. That's like a guy having his tie up, and then like you flip away and come back and his tie is down, then you flip away and come back and his tie is back up again. Those are problems that a director needs to fix right away, and it just means that she was being very lazy with this movie for some reason, and I didn't notice anything like that in the first Wonder Woman. I thought it was put together so well and directed so well, and I don't know what happened. Sean says, yikes, don't be too harsh, but be harsh. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm gonna be harsh. Patty deserves the criticism. If you're gonna get all the credit when you make a good movie, you deserve the criticism. And guys, please, again, keep commenting. Sean, thank you for all the comments. And if everyone else, if you're watching, comment below. I want to hear what you guys think on this. And again, smash the like button as well. Anyway, if you're gonna get the credit for doing it, you deserve the criticism, and Patty deserves the criticism. The problems with this movie are mostly her fault. Not all, and I'll get to the other person whose fault it is, but it's mostly her fault. She was a part writer. She is the director, and that was really the biggest problem with this movie is the writing and the direction. It was not good. It was just not good. The whole thought process for the movie to start with is wrong. They didn't make a movie based in the 80s. They made an 80s movie. They made a movie that would have been made in the 80s. And what's wrong with that, Mike? Well, the reason that superhero movies work nowadays is because they evolved from that. This movie is like Superman 2. Wonder Woman 1 is not like Superman 1, although the first Superman with Christopher Reeve is a very good movie for its time. But if you made that movie nowadays, it doesn't work. If you watch that movie now, it's not going to be as good. Part of what made Superman 1 so great is at the time you'd never seen anything like that. Well, now we've seen that 1,000 times. They've built on that base. Superman 1 is the foundation, right? And they've built a ginormous skyscraper, especially over at Marvel. And there's an expectation on what people expect in their superhero movies, in movies in general. Not just superhero movies, but in movies in general. And nowadays, movies need to be well written. They need to be well acted. There needs to be great character development. There needs to be stability in the plot. There needs to be consistency. And there needs to be what they call verisimilitude. You have to believe the ask. And there were just so many asks, multiple in this movie, that are just unbelievable. And it all boils down to Patty Jenkins. She dropped the ball. Patty failed in this movie. And that's fine. It doesn't mean she's going to fail on the next Wonder Woman. And it doesn't mean she's going to fail on the Squadron Star Wars movies she's going to do. She had a bad day. But it was a phenomenally bad day. Like, it was an astronomical fail, in my opinion. And that's why this movie is trash. And I keep saying that because it is. It's a trash movie. And I'm sorry that I'm being so harsh. I really am, because I really wanted to like it. But it is what it is. This movie is garbage. And it's Patty Jenkins. She is the number one reason. Shawnee Sean says, no candy cane for you, Patty. and again, I don't want to be this way, but I'm being brutally honest because this movie is brutally bad. And I would do this with any director, mind you. This is not, it's not a thing that I think Patty Jenkins is a wonderful director, and she has proved it time and time again. And this is her bad day. She had a bad day. I mean, that's really what it boils down to. But I'm not going to lie about it. I'm not going to bullshit. I'm sorry. It was a bad day. And she is mostly the reason it is. Because she had complete autonomy over this movie. They gave her the power, and she flat out dropped the ball, in my opinion. So, and again, it comes down to plot. And again, the answer to why is this happening? Because there's no explanation, or not a good one, And again, it's really sad, and I keep saying this. When you're making a movie, you have your ask, you have your setup, and you have your payoff. And you can't ask too many things that are completely out there, right? You can ask a couple of things. Like, for instance, you can ask people to believe that a World War I pilot can jump into a modern-ish day fighter jet and fly it. You can ask that if you're not asking too many other things. But you're also asking people to believe in wishing stones. You're asking people to believe, that people would never make good wishes, that everybody made bad wishes. You're asking people to believe that everybody in the world would renounce their wish. You're asking people to believe that Wonder Woman would be completely selfish and not realize that her resurrected boyfriend literally possessed a man. You're asking people to believe, you're asking people to believe that Wonder Woman has powers that she doesn't really have, or that has a power that she forgot how to use later. All the asks are too much. You're asking too much from your audience to suspend. And verisimilitude, you need to have believability in what you're asking. And she didn't do that. She was like, look, we're going to have this crazy, campy, fun 80s style movie, not based in the 80s, but made as if it was made in the 80s. And I'm sorry, 80s movies don't really work nowadays. Most of them. They're cheesy. And this whole movie is cheesy. And it took me out of the movie. I couldn't get into this movie, and I can't even watch it again. I wanted to watch it again for this stream, and I can't even watch it again because it's so bad. And that sucks. And it's Patty. I'm sorry, I put most of the blame on Patty. But there is one other person. Hold on, before I get that, Shawnee Sean said, why doesn't she make herself invisible? She has the ability, right? Because, Sean, because. That's why. Because. Because. They don't answer that. Which, again, it's because she doesn't have the power, really, to make anything invisible or herself. She's not the Invisible Woman. She's Wonder Woman. That's not her power. And that was a bullshit retcon. They call it retcon, retroactive continuity. And it's bullshit. She doesn't have that power. Make her have, if you want to include the invisible jet, then go all in on the actual invisible jet. Make it where she has a contact somewhere secretly that made her this prototypical invisible jet. Or make it where the Amazonians figured out, some kind of technology. Because they could advance. They're an advanced civilization. They've been around for centuries, millennia. There are 100 other ways you could have done that would have been more believable than Wonder Woman is Gandalf the Sexy. She's not a wizard, okay? She has godlike abilities, but she is not a wizard. What you're asking the audience to believe isn't believable because they know about the character already. And that's a problem. All right. The last blame for this movie belongs to this man. And if you don't know who this man is, his name is Walter Hamada. Walter Hamada, as Shawnee Sean says, LOL, Gandalf the sexy. And that's, yeah, they tried to make her a wizard. She's not a wizard. All right, so Walter Hamada is what you would call the Kevin Feige of the DC universe. If you don't know who Kevin Feige is, he's the overlord and the person who looks over all of Marvel Studios for Disney. So all the Marvel movies are planned and plotted out and done by Kevin Feige. So in DC, Warner Brothers in 2018 hired this man, Walter Hamada. He presided over Aquaman. Shawnee Sean said the sun was probably his. That's good. Right? We don't know because so he presided over Aquaman, which was a $1 billion movie and a lot of fun. He presided over The Joker, a $1 billion movie and a great movie. He presided over Shazam, not a $1 billion movie, not like monetarily great, but Shazam was critically liked and audience scores were really great on it too. A fun movie. If you haven't seen Shazam, definitely give it a watch because it's good. He presided over Birds of Prey, not a great movie, but still a lot of people liked it and it did pretty well in the box office. Not great, but pretty well. The point being is when they brought in Walter Hamada, they brought him in to be the Kevin Feige, the person who brings this all together and makes this universe work. Now, Walter, before Wonder Woman came out, said that they're building what they call a multiverse. Initially, when he said it, I had some reservations on what I hoped it wasn't, and I had some hopes on what I hoped it was. Now, they're talking about this Flash movie coming out, the Flashpoint, which looks bonkers already because they have so many, like they have Michael Keaton coming in back as Batman. They have Ben Affleck coming back as Batman. They have so many characters coming into this. Like, oh my God, this is going to be nuts. I wouldn't be surprised if you see Wonder Woman in that movie, by the way, because if you know anything about the Flashpoint paradox, it's nuts. And I'm excited for the Flash movie still. But what I was worried about with the multiverse thing is that they would do things like this, where you can make up shit that doesn't agree in continuity. I don't want them to turn around and be like, well, the reason Wonder Woman can fly in this movie and not in Justice League is because multiverse. This is a different universe. No. Walter Hamada is overseeing this stuff. He is the one that needed to go to Patty and be like, you need to fix this. You can't have her fly. You can't. You can't do it. She can't fly. She can't fly in this movie because she doesn't fly later. And he didn't. He just turned a blind eye. What Kevin Feige in, as Shawnee Sean says, LOL, no. What Kevin Feige does in Marvel is he sets out a basic plan and then hands that to his directors and says, look, you can make whatever kind of movie you want within these parameters. This is what I need the character to be and be able to do. Anything else you can make up, but you can't break these rules or these parameters. That's what Kevin Feige does with Marvel, and it's smart. Walter Hamada, who I thought was going to do that for DC, instead has been like, if there's any continuity issues, multiverse! Ha ha! No, that doesn't work. And now I'm worried. Because where I thought initially, because we had some great movies under his tenure, and it started to look like they were going to bring this all together. Shawnee Sean commented earlier, by the way, that he loves Shazam. Shazam is a wonderful movie. A wonderful movie, if you haven't seen it. Where I thought Walter Hamada was doing a great job of bringing this all together and making it work. Instead, it doesn't look like it now, and I'm worried. And I was so looking forward to this movie, Wonder Woman 84, and I was so looking forward to this Flash movie coming out. And now I'm not looking forward to the Flash movie nearly as much, because now I'm worried that it's going to be just as much of a mess as this. And anything that happens that's, not believable, well, why'd you do that? Because multiverse! And it's his fault. He's the guy. He's the man. He is the top dog. He is the top person. And he is the one who's supposed to ensure continuity and ensure verisimilitude throughout all of this. And instead, he's not. And that is a big issue. And it's why DC is trailing Marvel. It's not because Marvel's better than DC. It's not because of any of that. It's because Marvel has a person in charge who makes sure the continuity between all the movies makes sense. And look, there are still some issues. You can nitpick Marvel, but the nitpicks you have for Marvel are minuscule. The basic premise throughout the whole thing is not. They're not giving people in Marvel movies powers that they don't have, typically. I mean, you can argue maybe Tony Stark's armor was magic, but whatever. The point is you'd be nitpicking to find problems with Marvel movies, whereas you don't have to nitpick to find problems with this movie and some of the DC stuff. Although I will say, up until this point, under Walter Hamada's tenure, it looked like he had it under control. This, unfortunately, looks a lot like Warner Brothers before, and Warner Brothers is notorious for sticking their nose in and fucking with shit. And right now, I'm not the biggest fan of Warner Brothers because of their whole day and date release thing or whatever that they're trying to do with HBO Max. Hold on, Sean commented, said, let's give Wonder Woman more powers and blame it on her god side. LOL, she can shoot lightning like Zeus, like her daddy. Oh my god, that reminds me. A short thing, Sean remind me. Although a very visually cool scene, there is no fucking way Wonder Woman would be able to lasso lightning and swing on it. I'm sorry. Again, your ask was too much on that. Because? No. No. And it was stupid. I'm sorry, but it was stupid. Sorry, Sean. You got great point, Sean. So anyway, what I thought Walter would do, and what he started to do, is bring all this in and have it a good continuity. And then they turned around and were like, multiverse, fuck it. God, I hope not. And there are other movies coming out that I'm looking forward to. Robert Pattinson's Batman. I think it's going to be a great movie. And I'm looking forward to the Flash movie still, even though I'm a little worried about the Flash movie now, more than the Batman movie, because the Batman movie with Robert Pattinson, I feel like is more going to be like Joker, where it's really its own thing, completely separate. And judging from what I've seen so far and what I've heard so far, that movie looks very grounded. So the asks are not going to be as much, and I feel like the writing is going to pay off way more in that. So I'm not worried so much about the Batman movie, but I am pretty damn worried about this Flash movie now, because it looks like there's going to be some crazy bonkers shit that happens, and their explanation is going to be because multiverse. Yay! And it sucks because Flashpoint is one of my favorite comic book story arcs. It's one of the best stories you can read. If you don't want to read the comics, go on HBO Max if you have it and watch the Flashpoint Paradox. That animated movie is one of the best animated comic book movies you're going to see. It's awesome. Definitely, if you don't want to go and find the comics and read about it, watch that. It's awesome. And if the live action movie can be anything like that, we're all in for a super awesome treat. But I'm worried now because it looks like they're just going to be like, let's have him do this. Let's have him do that. Let's have Aquaman shoot tanks out his ass because... Sean comments, she could ridden on a cloud like Goku. She kind of did. That's the other, they had her lasso a cloud. You can't lasso a cloud. I mean, you already are asking me to expect she can lasso lightning. I will kind of suspend disbelief that the energy in the lightning and her magic lasso can like work together to You're asking me to believe that a lasso could lasso water droplets. I'm sorry. I know I'm being super harsh, but oh God, this sucked. This movie sucked. And this is what it's brought me to this. This movie was shit. Okay, it was shit. Yeah, she was riding clouds like Goku, Sean. She was riding clouds like Goku. And every man in this movie, by the way, was like Master Roshi. So, you know, men are pigs. Men are pigs. All right. Anyway, I think I've ranted long enough. Thank you guys for commenting. I do have a couple of tip comments that were sent in. Del Mackey, my guy, Del Mackey, my best tipper. Del, you've been awesome. By the way, if you guys want to send in a tip comment, you can do 24/7. You can send in tip comments to me for the Movie Idiot Show, which is on Fridays at 9 a.m. Central Standard Time. We do it every Friday. We go over all the movie news and TV news going on. Tip comments, streamlabs.com/movieidiot is the way to do that. Again, when you send in tip comments, you're supporting the show, supporting the channel, and I really appreciate that. So Del Mackey sends in a tip, says, Mike, this movie sucked. Sorry to say, but so many plot holes. The thing that got me to check out the most is the invisible plane. I was done after that. Yes, Del, you were speaking my language, dude. The invisible plane. I was furious. I was yelling at my TV. I'm like, no, that isn't real. I mean, granted, invisible plane isn't real, but Wonder Woman doesn't have magic. She's not a wizard. She's not Gandalf the Sexy. She's not that. She's not a wizard. I was so pissed. So yes, Del, I'm with you, dude. That really took me out of it. I was already kind of taken out, but that really infuriated me. And again, the scores in some of the scene when Hans Zimmer is a great composer, but like him ripping off the scores really took me out of the movie. When I heard the Kick-Ass score, and then I heard the score, the one that pissed me off was the Batman v Superman score, because I love that scene so much when Bruce Wayne's parents die. Even though it was the 18th time it's been done, it was done so well. And when he took the score from that, it literally took me out of the movie because I was so pissed that they did it. Anyway, and then Nick Papagiorgio is our second tip comment, and he says, I kind of liked it. Yes, it had issues, but I liked the campiness, a change of pace for DC, I guess. And that's cool. It worked for you, Nick. It didn't work for me, man. It did. I can't agree, but, you know, all film is subjective, my friend. You know, if it worked for you, that's great. And I'm not telling, like, look, if you guys like this movie, that's great. Good. I'm not saying don't watch it. Give it a watch. If you like DC, give it a watch. If you enjoy comic book movies, give it a watch. I'm not saying don't watch the movie. I'm saying I feel it's trash. I feel it sucked. And I feel Patty Jenkins and Walter Hamada are the reasons it did, and mostly Patty. But again, it didn't work for me. That doesn't mean it won't work for you. And I would never say don't watch it. Give it a watch. Make your own opinions. That's what this is all about, guys. It's what it's all about. So anyway, with all of that being said, I'm going to bring this to a close. I've gone for an hour and a half between the two streams now. Ugh. It's just craziness, man. Just craziness. So, again, guys, thank you for checking this out. Appreciate it. Don't forget to check out the Movie Idiot Show Fridays at 9 a.m. Central Standard Time, except for this Friday. Will not be, because that's New Year's Day, so I'm going to do it Saturday. I think I'm going to do Saturday afternoon. I haven't quite decided on a time, but I'm thinking like 2:30, somewhere around there, so make sure you guys check that out. Again, thank you all for checking in. Comment below, again, if you guys are watching this, you know, after the stream on the rewatch. Comment below. I want to hear you guys' comments. I want to hear all that stuff. Again, also, you can send in comments via the tip link one more time. Streamlabs.com/movieidiot. Again, when you send in comments via the tip link, you're supporting the channel, and I really, really appreciate that. Again, thank you guys. I'm going to get out of here because, well, I got to go to work. So I will catch you guys on the Movie Idiot Show on Saturday, and I hope you all have an amazing week, and I will catch you all later. Peace.